think she's buggered. G'day folks, today we're going to do something about the radio. When I bought the van, the radio sort of worked. It had to be turned on manually from a switch here, and then press a button and it'll come on. But you can see how the screen's all quite white, and that's because it's been cooked by the sun. Also, when you turned off the ignition, it'd go for about 10 minutes and then turn itself off. And after a while it developed a thing that when you listen to a radio station, about every 5 minutes or so, it'd just flick to another radio station for some reason. So it's either hooked up somewhere incorrectly, or there's a fault with it, but either way she's buggered. So Timu to the rescue. Of course, the good radios are around $400 to $500 here in Australia. We don't want to do that one. So this ended up to be 150, something like that. So hopefully it'll work. All I really want it for is the GPS function on it. I don't really listen to the radio anyway. And the other thing that this one is supposed to do, evidently, is sit up at a higher angle. Right. What have we got? More packaging. That and more packaging, but then we all whinge when it turns up broken. Alright, what have we got? That's a reverse camera. I've already got one of them, so I probably don't need to install that. That's some switching, plugging, wiring stuff. More, that's the GPS puck in there, a few other bits and pieces. I might have to read the instructions, find out what's going on. What's this? Let me in, let me in. Mounting bracket. All right. In. Okie dokie. So it's going to end up a bit bigger and sitting more upright, which should be good against the sun. And what I may end up doing on the top is putting a bit of an eyebrow on there, just to make sure that the sun is kept off the screen. Anyway, there's the back of it, and I'll start pulling her apart and putting her back together again, I guess, isn't it? I didn't see any destruction manual. So it must be bloody easy then. These are the mounting brackets. They're supposed to go on there somewhere. I was wondering what these holes were, and perhaps before this was in, there was something like this in here already. Not branded, this radio, so it's just a cheap Chinese thing. See how it goes. in. Get off there. Ah, come on. Have you got it already? No. There you go. That's got it. Unplug all these. Don't need them. Don't need them. And don't need that. What's that one? I saw in the receipts that come with the van that the people who put the radio in, this one, charged $600. And we can see here that there's a lot of stuff just being wired together with dodgy tape that's coming off. And that's probably why it hasn't been working properly, because this electrical tape, the glue on it, isn't actually, it does, you know, like it actually conducts electricity. And once it gets hot, which it will do in this dash, the glue comes off anyway. So don't be using electrical tape. But anyway, I'm going to need 6 hands for this, so I'm going to turn you off for a while. In here we have an antenna. Now I'm not sure if this is a radio antenna or a phone antenna, but it wasn't plugged into the radio. So if in doubt, throw it out. I hate having crap that's not necessary. And of course, one job leads on to another. So this cable that was plugged into the old radio, I believe this is the one that goes up to that location, which used to have a DVD with a drop down thing that wasn't working properly. And I took them out and I retraced the wires. I think I've coiled them up in here, and then I was going to do this later, and it looks like now is that later. So even though this is going to be a bit of a nuisance, I'll have to take that out, pull this out and stuff. But if we're not using it, get rid of it. It should probably only take half an hour to put this radio in, but I've got a feeling it's going to be around a week.